So for the last 5 weeks, it's been a slow, gradual process. But has Bryce Young made himself the starting quarterback of the Panthers next year?
He has in my mind, and I think he has in the minds of some pretty influential decision makers in that organization. In talking with people, I think they, especially folks, and remember, a lot of their scouts and their current GM Dan Morgan were around when Bryce, when they believed in Bryce.
Yes,
they gave up the farm to draft Bryce, and so I think they were always wanting to pump the brakes on this idea that they should punt him immediately and go draft another quarterback or sign Daniel Jones or what have you. And so the guy and the folks that needed the most convincing, which I get, were the folks who weren't here when that decision was made, and that is to say Dave Canales and the entire offensive staff, to include Nate Carroll, Steve's kid, to include Brad Idzik, the offense core, all of them, but especially Canales. And, Canales is still very leery or wary of anointing Bryce the franchise quarterback.
Right.
I get it. Keep a carrot on the stick, whatever your motivation is. But with each week, each passing game, and you see him making these plays that reminiscent of what he did at Alabama, you're thinking, okay, this certainly looks like a guy that deserves another year, and go use that top 5 pick on another position of need, and that's a pretty enviable place for Dan Morgan and Dave Canales to be in.
Joe Person from The Athletic at Joseph Person on Twitter is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. The thing that, I don't have an emotional dog in the fight not being a fan. I actually don't have an emotional dog in the fight for any team. I have completely weaned myself of NFL-specific fandom. But for me, looking at this from the outside, I'm getting the best of both worlds. One, Bryce Young is definitely improving, definitely looking like he can be a quarterback of the future, and somehow, really through no fault of his own, the team is failing to win these games, so they're not screwing with their own draft position. So right now, I am rooting for them either to get the first pick, which they'd be able to auction to the highest bidder, or get the third pick, figuring that the first 2 picks are going to be quarterbacks, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, in one order or another, so they can get the guy I believe is the best player in the draft, Travis Hunter.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it really has been a win-win the last few weeks. I mean, they have gone toe-to-toe with the 2-time Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who've been kind of the NFC South. Whenever you think of this division, they've been the top dog the last few years and look like they are going to be again this year. And then last week in Philly, I thought, okay, close but no cigar the last 2 weeks. They're going to go to Philly and they're going to lose by 4 touchdowns. I really did. I thought it'd be a 3-score game.
Yeah, I did too.
And credit to the defense too. I know that's not what you asked me about.
No, it's fine.
But the defense played a lot better and kept Saquon Barkley, mostly in check. I mean, I know he averaged 6 yards a carry, but he didn't get loose for any 70-yard touchdown runs like he did twice against the Rams.
Right.
And so, yeah, your point is a valid one. And with that in mind, Monday night here in Charlotte, I went to the Charlotte Convention Center for the Bronco Nagurski award ceremony because there's some pretty big-time difference makers who were in town in the persons of Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter and then the Michigan defensive lineman Graham Mason.
Yep.
And guess who else was there? Dan Morgan was there.
Look at that.
Look, that doesn't mean, the Panthers have a table or two at that every year. But it's just that there's no question Dan Morgan knows this team has many needs. And if quarterback is no longer on that list, then how freeing is that for what, and especially the scenario you said, he's already shown Dan Morgan has an ability to sort of collect nothing real high, but he's been kind of quietly filling out the draft board with extra picks. And if he deals a top 3 pick, look out.
Yeah. And again, to me, Travis Hunter fills 2 roles. It fills, top cornerback. If you have Travis Hunter and J.C. Horn, regardless of what season J.C. Horn has had here, we know he's going to have another one. He's under contract for it. If you have those 2 guys at cornerback, you have the bones already of a very good defense. And then, because I've seen him play wide receiver, he's crazy good at that too. Like, now you've just added another piece to your weaponry, and I'm going to go to wide receiver here, and I'm not so worried about Xavier Legette dropping that touchdown pass. It wasn't the easiest catch in the world. Should have been made, but whatever. Again, blessing in disguise. Before the trade deadline, Joe, we talked about, could you trade Adam Thielen? Now, and I said this yesterday, and I'm only half kidding, can we extend Adam Thielen? He's got a year left on his contract, and he's going to be, 37 when this contract is up or something like that. But This guy is still very good for what they need him to be.
Yeah, he is. And they like, obviously they like what he's been doing on the football field, which is really more of what we saw from him last year. Mm-hmm. If anything, he's getting downfield a little more as Bryce Young gets more comfortable. As you recall, there were a lot of dump-offs for Adam Thielen last year where you might have normally seen Bryce Young go into the tight end for like a little 4-yard gain. That was Adam Thielen last year. And now, as Bryce Young gets comfortable with himself, but also with this much improved offensive line, Adam Thielen's getting downfield a little more and showing at, I think you gave him a couple years. I think he's only, air quotes, only 34. But he's showing he can still be an impact player in this league. I don't think it's crazy they would extend him. Obviously, you mentioned some other priorities who are ahead of him, namely J.C. Horn, but I would think there'll be conversations about that.
I mean, why not? Especially if you can even knock the cap number down a little bit by giving him an extension. Look, to me, you mentioned tight end, and we'll have to close on this. Joe Person from The Athletic. Hope to see you at Grandover coming up in a few months. But here's the thing about Thielen. He actually acts like a tight end for them in that he is the security blanket for Bryce. I don't know a dozen targets like on average over the last few weeks. It's been great to see him back, and it's been great to see Bryce grow. As maybe it's a direct result of having Adam Thielen around. They might have to go out and find another one if Adam Thielen decides to retire at some point. Joe Person, at Joseph Person on Twitter. Thank you very much for your time, my friend. I will talk to you and see you soon.